probably a person should select a business process for RPA. Then from there on, the second last topic would be who can learn RPA. That's another question, because there are a lot of people who come to me saying that we have 6 years experience in QA. Are we good people to actually, are we good in place to learn RPA or not? So probably I'll answer that question. And from there on, we will take on the question answers round. I hope that's fine with you. If you have any topics that you would want me to talk about, feel free to write it in the chat window. And if we have time, I'll be more than happy to cover. Also, I would like to add, during this whole session, I'll try to make at least one bot to give you a look and feel. And if possible, then probably 2 bots.
Okay, Minal, thank you so much. Just one and perhaps the last intervention. Just wanted to check with the attendees if they are able to see your computer screen. Could you please confirm, each one of you?
No, I'm not able to see.
I think, Minal, your screen is not visible to the participants. Kindly check and reshare again.
I'm so sorry. Please let me know if you can see my screen. I have the agenda slide on.
Yes, we can.
Yes, now at least I can see, and everyone has confirmed that they can see. So except you, I request everyone to be on mute, and over to you again, Minal. Thank you so much. And sorry for this interruption.
No, thank you so much, Ravi. And I really apologize. While I thought you could look at the screen and relate with it, the screen wasn't shared. Apologize. But I think rather than recapping again, the agenda should be clear. And then obviously we're going to discuss these topics, all of these topics that are there in front of you in detail. Okay. So coming to the very first point, and that is emergence of RPA. Because now everyone knows RPA is booming industry, and it has really picked up from probably last 18 months or so, especially in India, as far as developers are concerned. Let's try to understand why it suddenly emerged and why it's a booming industry, while a lot of people are concentrating on RPA automation. So coming to the 60s, let's try to understand how it actually navigated from this point towards 2000, and probably there should be one more paradigm, I would say, post COVID-19, because I see it is going to impact the RPA industry like anything. But let's discuss what it means by this graphical. Let's try to make sense out of it. So basically what happened back in 1960s in US, there were a lot of large companies which were struggling to get good rate of interest, to generate more profits within their own organization when it comes to different domains or different verticals of the company. When I say different verticals, that would mean HR, then it could be finance, it could be auditing, it could be manufacturing, it could be different sectors out there. And what they started doing was they started outsourcing their work, specialized work, for example hiring, and then general HR operations like onboarding, offboarding, then accounting, and so on, to different companies which were specialized within these domains within US industry. And boom, they saw a lot of profits because the work was done outside of their company, but by specialized people within their domains. And they were really happy for a decade. But after a decade, they probably started looking for more ways to get better ROI, better interest. When I say ROI, probably you can think of it as better profits for a company. So they replicated the same model to European countries. So this time what they did was, rather than outsourcing the work within US, they started outsourcing the work in European countries. So probably the dollar to the euro rate by which they could actually generate more profits. And hence in 1980s, probably when they started going to different developing countries, and from there on, probably in 1990s to India and other Asian countries. And everyone knows we did open up our economy in 1990s, and that's when all the outsourcing picture came into being, wherein we as developing countries in India were working for European as well as American companies, and it was a win-win situation for both of us. But after probably 2000, when this outsourcing to Asian countries was saturated, they again started looking for more ways to generate more profits. So probably either they could have gone to still poorer countries, for example it could be Somalia, and so on. But then again, the problem was there were no skilled labor. There is still no skilled labor in these countries that they could find. So then they started looking for bots rather than humans. This time, let's try to delegate the work to bots. So you'll be surprised to know this RPA industry is not new. It started back in 2000 with the first company. RPA coin itself was probably coined in 2001, and there were RP companies which started back in 2001. So, but then nobody really believed in the power of RPA. Nobody believed in the power of robots working like humans. That's why it did not really take off. But yes, that's how they started delegating, and probably it really became I would say there were some US and European companies which probably implemented it in 2014-15, and it takes around 18 to 24 months to actually see the benefits of RPA. And so probably by 2017 and 18, there were other companies which saw that the companies who had really implemented RPA were able to generate profits. And that's the reason that in probably 2018, RPA industry got a boom, because everyone was now accepted this fact that yes, the repetitive work can be delegated to robots, and that's how this boom especially came. So I hope that it's clear how the RPA industry evolved and how RPA actually emerged. From there on, let's try to understand what is automation and what is the difference between RPA. Now, all of you would agree, probably any machine for that matter is called automation. Be it calculator, be it a mixie in your kitchen, be it your washing machine, be it your television, all those machines are automation, right? Let's try to understand then what is RPA giving more than just automation. With that, I'll try to build a small example, very small example regarding one of the RPA tools. So if I go to calculator, so what we do is we press any digit here. Say 9 into 5 equal to 45. So now, while I clicked on 9 into 5 equal to, but the calculation basically is done by calculator itself. So that's why it's a machine. But let me try to do the same thing using a bot. So I'm using one of the RPA tools, which is UiPath. It is ranked as the topmost tool in the RPA industry in the world at the moment. So I'm not going to explain how exactly I'm building, but you can see, and just in a matter of few seconds, I will be able to build a bot, and let's see what it can do. I'll say here calculator. So I'm just trying to click on these number as I clicked manually. So boom, my coding is finished. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just close this calculator and I'm going to run this script once again. I think all of you have seen that I built it right in front of you. Okay, so while I run, let me minimize the slide. If you see that my calculator is open and it pressed 9 into 5 equal to, and my robot has finished its task. So if you see, it took less than 1 second for it to do. What it actually did was, it actually opened this application by itself and pressed all these digits by itself. So let me try to run it once again for your clarity. So see, the calculator is opened by the machine. It pressed on the digits as I said and equal to, and we got the result. So what it means is basically what we were doing earlier by using automation was I was using my mouse to click on all these things. For example, first of all, going to the search command, opening the calculator, then clicking on 9 into 5. So probably these are 4 clicks that I had to do to generate this output. But whereas with just a little automation, my bot is able to do this for me. So basically, what it means is that the rope. So not to confuse, when I say bot, just understand it as a robot. So that means my robot is able to automate or mimic my human action, which I was initially doing myself. So that is the difference between automation and RPA. When your robot is able to mimic human actions, that is what is RPA. So I hope this difference between automation and RPA is clear. And from there on, let's try to define this term called RPA, what exactly it means. So we will travel backwards. Uh, it's a mistake. It has to be A in the end. Anyways, just read it as RPA. So we will read it backwards. Let's try to understand what is A. A stands for automation. So automation means automating any task without human interaction. As you just saw that in the calculator example, I did not do anything. I just ran my robot and it automated the whole task without any human interaction, without me using any keyboard and mouse afterwards once I had run my robot. Second, business process. When we say P means process. Process can be any business process. So I would like to give you an example here. The business process doesn't have to be very complex process. It can be as simple as, for example, when I was working in a bank, I was working in a European bank, and what one person in the bank had to do was the person had to come to the bank early in the morning to update the exchange rates on the website. So the process was pretty repetitive, as in the person just used to get a mail with a PDF attachment where all the exchange rates were mentioned, and the person had to just come and then read the mail, um, download the attachment, read the currency exchange rates from the PDF, which are always there in the same format, then log in into a website and change the exchange rate, which would ultimately be displayed in the bank portal. So the business process could be as simple as just exchanging exchange rate. But just imagine if your robot is able to do it, then it's a win situation for a bank, because obviously they don't need to call in a person. There could be issues with the um, with the transport or any other issues. The person can get late, but this is not a process which can be compromised on because of personal issues. So from there on, the processes could be as complex as FD creation, fixed deposit creation, or standing instructions creation, or material management notification, or onboarding process in HR industry, offboarding, and so on. Right? And then let's come to R. I think with the calculator example, it should be clear. When we say R stands for robot. Now, when we say robot, now basically, what is a robot? Basically, it should be capable to mimic human action. Now, when we use our laptop, when we use our laptop or maybe computer, we are using only two things. One is keyboard and another is mouse. So basically, our software, any RPA tool for that matter, needs to be capable of mimicking human actions of keyboard and mouse, and that is what is called robot by itself, and that it does through using hardware drivers of the laptop. Okay, so that is RPA, robotic process automation. In totality, it is a software which can mimic human actions of keyboard and mouse to automate some business processes, leading to growth in a business. I hope that's clear. What is RPA? Sorry. Yeah. from there on, there are two different types of bots. Let's try to understand a little bit on different type of bots, attended as well as unattended. Now, let me try to give example of attended bots. For example, just think of customer care agency. It could customer service department. It could be any customer service department. Maybe for a bank, it could be customer service department. For any product, for example, washing machine organization or television creating company, and so on. Or maybe Amazon customer service or eBay customer service, and so on. So what happened is, whenever you call the customer service department, they tend to look up the status of your application. When we say application, it could be anything. It could be account opening for a bank. It could be order placing for any e-commerce website, and from there on, say so on. So generally what happens is, the material sorry the this the data doesn't really reside in one application. Just imagine that data generally resides in different applications for that matter. And it becomes very difficult for customer service department to log in into each application and then get the result. Also, there comes in a security of risk and compliance angle as well, that some organization may not want to show their customer service department all the data which resides in these applications. So what can be done is, a bot can be created, developed to basically log in into all these 4, 5, 6 and so on application and get only required information and present to this customer service department. But remember, this robot does not keep on running forever. This robot will be run only when the person sitting at the customer service department will trigger this bot. So that is what is attended bot. Basically, those are front office bots which are triggered whenever required. Whenever the person has to check the status of any application, has to check the status of any product delivery, and so on. Okay, so this is one of the example. There can be many examples, but whenever a person really triggers any bots, that is attended bot. Also, there could be another scenario when there is whole lot of business process, for example, task 1, 2, 3 and 4, so on. But in between, this particular step requires login information, and for whatever reason in your organization you do not want to give user ID password to a bot. So maybe this could be a human assistant or a attended bot where the person has to be present, but the person will interact only and only in this step. Rest of the steps will be done by the bot all by itself without human interaction. So that is called attended bot, whenever there is a minimum level of interaction, but some interaction is required for a bot to run, complete the whole business process. Okay. So coming to what is unattended bot. So unattended bots are simple. For example, those bots which does not require any human intervention at all. It could be, for example, let's suppose at 6 p.m. you want reports to be generated out of the system and mailed. Or maybe at 9 a.m. you want few excels, you want analysis of excels and mailed to you. Or it could be as simple as what you want is there are some emails with invoice attachment. You want your bot to run at 10 a.m. every morning, get those attachments from the mail and upload it to the accounting platform. So those are kind of unattended bots where there is no human intervention is required, and generally they are scheduled at a particular time and so on. Okay, so those are unattended bots. So let me clear it. Yeah, so I hope that's clear. Let's move on to then the next one. So what are the application area of robotic process automation, or RPA? So when we say the application area, so please understand, some people just confuse, okay, only banking or financial sector will be able to benefit from the RPA. It's not so. For that matter, any process which is repetitive in nature can be automated. Banking, I would give example, for example, any FD creation, fixed deposit creation, any this recurring deposit creation, any standing orders. For example, for that matter, even the uploading of exchange rate on the website. Now, this had nothing to do with banking. So, similarly, any kind of a process which basically require interaction between two different set of applications can be automated through RPA. Similarly, when it comes to HR, it could be onboarding the customers, sending out mails to a lot of customers. Then once you get a revert back, maybe analyzing the replies from the customers. That can be another process which can be used to automate through RPA. Now, financial services, similarly, in the financial chain, supply chain, so it could be material management. Whenever inventory is low, triggering the mails or placing of the orders, and so on. Networking and IT, let's suppose you have a large organization of 200 plus people and you want to install a software in all the 200 systems. So RPA is a good it's good to automate that process, because for 200 systems you want to do the same steps of installation, so that can be done through RPA. Insurance, handling of claims. In fact, recently I was reading about this medical hospital, just keeping Medanta or so, I'm not uh, Max hospitals. It has a very large chain of hospitals in northern India. They have very recently implemented RPA for replying to the mails, and they're quite happy with the outcome. So, for that matter, even in the medical industry, robots can be used. Okay. So these slides are basically talking about different applications which can be done in these areas, but this list is just exhaustive. In fact, this should be updated to especially include the medical field, because with this COVID-19, there are a lot of automations coming out, especially for the medical teams when it comes to analysis, or when it comes to analysis of data, presenting it, or, automating some simple task of report sending, and so on. So, with that said, let's come on to what are the different RPA tools in the industry. Guys, RPA is so booming that probably 1 year back there were only 20 RPA tools all over the world. Currently, there are around 60 RPA tools, RPA software companies in the market. But among them, the top three are UiPath, Automation Anywhere, and Blue Prism. Among them also, UiPath is at the top. So it's a New York-based company. Also, Automation Anywhere is also a New York-based company, whereas Blue Prism is a Europe-based company. So they have the biggest market share. Among these, UiPath has a maximum market share of 13.6% as per Gartner. Gartner is a analyzing website, and Automation Anywhere stands at second with a 12.8% market share, and Blue Prism stands at third with a 8.6 market share. So, having said that, these are the top three RPA tools in the industry. And to be honest, UiPath is at the top for a reason. The GUI of UiPath is really great, and it's pretty easy as compared to any other RPA tool in the industry. But having said that, there are a lot of good emerging RPA tools. Having said that, Softomotive, WorkFusion, Nice, even Microsoft launched with their own RPA tool, Power Automate. Then Infosys have their own RPA tool called EdgeVerve. SAP has their own RPA tool called SAP RPA, and so on. So the list is endless. So these are the top RPA tools. Coming to, yeah, this is now a very important question, wherein asked many times how to select the best process for RPA. Guys, we need to understand that only those processes which are very high volume and which are very repetitive in nature should be automated. As in, I'll quickly like to give an example. While I was at one of the conferences in Las Vegas of UiPath last year in October, I was approached by a person who said that he wants to automate a process. While we were talking about what is exactly the process, he said that they have this ERP SAP. Guys, I would request, I think one of you have your mute on. Could you please mute yourself? Uh, Thank you so much. Yeah. So I was there discussing with one guy. They had SAP installed, and he said every 6 months they get some updates for SAP. SAP is one of the software's ERP tool, and every 6 months they get some. Updates of SAP, and then there he said there are two people in the organization who spent probably 1 week to do all the testing in order to analyze whether the processes which were earlier working fine are still working fine or not. So he wanted to automate this process. So guys, to be honest, this is not the correct process to automate, because see, every 6 months they are getting some updates, some corrections to their previous version of SAP. That means there could be some screen changes as well, and RPA may not be the right platform to then do this testing of 1 week. Please understand, the process has to be high volume. Even if they end up automating this, right? This is basically only 2 weeks of time for two people. So you can never be in a profitable situation to actually automate such a process, because there is so much chance of actually RPA not working fine. So please understand, the process has to be really high volume in order to be able to automate and then give you good results. For example, as I give you an example of exchange uploading the exchange rates on the website, if you see, the process is high volume because it was done every day, every morning. So I would say it was done 365 times in a year, right? Then obviously it's repetitive. Manual data entry, there was a person doing it. Then it's a legacy system. It depends. Even if it is not legacy system, as long as the process has more than one application, it can be automated. Then fifth and very important point, it should be logical and rule based. The process which we are trying to automate should have the same set of steps one after the other. It should not happen that the person has to apply a brain in doing the process and then that should be automated. No, because your RPA, your computer, your software cannot really think like you. So it should be something for which you don't really need to apply the brain. And high FT, you know more number of people are doing it. So there could be another example. For example, a bank is getting maybe 100 or 1000 FTs a day. So it's a good process to automate. It's very high volume. The process is manual. Always, you create it in same steps and so on. So basically, these are the parameters to understand that we should automate only those business processes which has manual data entry, logical and rule based, very repetitive in nature, high volume. A lot of people are doing the same process every day. Right? I hope that's clear. Let me try to erase all. Yeah. From there on, okay, I think that's the last topic for today. From there on, I'll try to build a small example. If I see we have little time, let's try to spend 5 more minutes after this, and then we'll come to the question answers round. Okay, I think this is another most important question that I'm being asked every day. So let's try to understand who can learn RPA. Okay, so when I say who can learn RPA, so basically RPA is one domain which cuts across industries. I have people training from college pass outs to 25 years plus experience, because everyone is trying to leverage RPA in their own way. Obviously, who are fresh out of college, they would want to become RPA developers. Whereas when I say 25 plus years experience, they are trying to understand what exactly how they can use RPA to do their own work efficiently, or maybe get more customers in the market, or maybe service their own customers, and so on. So, the idea of everyone trying to learn RPA could be different because they are at different scales in the industry. Having said that, who can learn RPA? So, though all the RPA platforms say that anyone with even non-technical background can learn RPA, but I'm a trainer as well, so I would want to be very um, uh, I would say upfront in this way. I would say anyone who has experience of any coding language, for that matter, C, C++, .NET, Java, ABAP, Oracle, and so on. Even basic knowledge of any one language is more than enough to learn RPA, but it is always good to have at least one language basics clear before we go ahead and learn RPA. I've seen people who do not have any development or who do not have any programming experience at all, and they really struggle to learn with RPA. They may be able to automate very simple processes, but if you really want to go further in this line, it will be difficult. Also, a good point would be to try to answer this question, well, whether I know what's a variable, what's a constant, what is a if else loop, what is a for each loop, what are different XML. I am not say you need to be an expert at everything, but as long as you can understand these and some more topics, you are good to learn RPA. Okay. So having said that, before I ask questions, can I show you one more example of RPA? Ravi, will that be okay if I take 5 more minutes and try to build one more example?
Oh, sure. Please, please. We still have 15 minutes as a scheduled time, and we still have a leverage of question answer session. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ravi. So I wouldn't take much of your time. Let's try to take a very, very simple example. So I have this folder on my machine. As you can see, I have 5 different documents. Let me try to open these notepad. So if you see, the first and second has some data, but third is empty, and so on, right? Some of them are empty, some of them has some data. Let me try to build a simple automation wherein I'm trying to read data from all these files and then creating a result text file in the end, wherein I will tell which file has data and which does not have any data. Okay, so let me try to build it right in front of you. I'll get 2 variables. One is to get the path of all the files in an array of strings. And another variable I will declare to read the content of the files. And then I'm using this assign statement. Let me get this path in here. I'm trying to get the path of all the files into this variable all files, and then I'm going to loop around this all files variable. It's of a string type, and then I'll say file, and then I'm going to read the contents of the file. And the output, I'm going to get it to the variable that I had already declared called file contents. And then I'll just get a if statement to check whether the file content has some data or not. So I will say file contents is equal to blank or not. If it has some, if it doesn't have some data, I'm going to append align to the file name. So basically I'll go back again to the files folder, text files folder. I'll give it this file doc5, but basically I'm going to change it to result text file because I want this will basically create a new file by itself and it will append whatever I write here into that file. So first I'll give the path and then I will say it is empty. Then I'm going to copy the same in the then section, but this time I'm going to say has contents. Let's also try to display the contents as well. Okay, because we've already got it in the variable called file contents. Yeah. So that's it. We are done and let's try to run this. And if you see this folder currently open, it has only 5 files and my robot is going to go into each of the files and will read whether it has contents or not and will ultimately create a new file called result here and will store the data into that. Let's try to run it. So it's finished. If you see it, it is, okay, it's saying 0 seconds. Okay, it's way too less for it to be able to recognize. But if you see, the result file is now created. And if I just expand it, if you see, it is clearly saying that doc1 has data stay, then 2 has data safe, third is empty, fourth is saying stay healthy. Right, so this is what it is. Let's try to cross check it. Stay safe and document 3 is empty, 4 has stay, 5th has healthy. So this is it. If you see, I've created this automation right in front of you and it took me just few minutes to create such automation. Obviously you can just think of, let's suppose there were 1,000 files in there. With 5 files obviously we can go and cross check, but if there would be 1,000 files, it's so difficult to cross check whether it has contents or not. Obviously this content can also be added into an Excel file and then analyze if somebody wants to even analyze what exactly the content is and so on. So that is what is RPA. And I hope you got a little picture of it. And from there on, I think I'm done with that. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you guys have. We'll be happy to take on any questions. Okay, so shall I go through the questions? Okay. Okay, so the first one is, how does RPA identify the calculator or the objects? So let's try to see. It is basically trying to understand where exactly the exe of this particular application lies, and from there on it executes the exe file to open it. For example, when you open the calculator from here, also it actually goes to the exe. These are just the shortcuts. It goes to the exe and from there it opens it, right? This is exactly what it tries to do by getting access to this exe of the calculator, and that's how it is able to open it. Okay, I hope this answers your question. Which one is based out of Europe? So Blue Prism is based out. Okay, Ravi has already answered. Yes, it is Blue Prism. Legacy system. Okay, I'll come to that point. This is a very interesting question that's being asked. Thanks for asking. Can you explain legacy system one more time? Yes. Okay, I'll give you a very practical example. Let's suppose You want the data to flow from one system to another, right? There can be different ways to flow data from one system. Obviously, if you're in the IT field, you would understand that most of the times we try to flow data from one system to another through APIs, correct? System 1 to system 2. And generally, we flow the data through API. Okay, so as long as we can actually flow this data through API, I would never prescribe you to use RPA. Okay, if you are able to get data from system 1 to system 2 through API, that's the best way to do, and we shouldn't really include RPA into this picture at all. But let's try to understand. For example, one of the telecom industries that I was very recently working on, they had a telecom platform which was a legacy system. When we say legacy system, it's an old system which does not have any outbound APIs. Okay, so this system X does not support any outbound API. Any API. So in that case, probably if I have to flow data from system X to system 2, right? What is the best way? They do not have any API. There can be only two ways. One is a person downloads the data, the X, and then uploads to system 2. Correct? So this is what a person is doing. Now this is very inefficient process because obviously this will be done by a human, and this is quite a boring task, and there are chances of mistakes. I would also like to give another practical example that happened with us, in the bank itself, and it was a huge mistake that happened. What happened was were two different platforms, a system E and then system Q. So what we were supposed to do was, they were actually APIs working between P and X, and what it would do was it would download some data from P and upload it to X. What exactly this data was regarding the phone number updation for a particular account for SMS generation. For example, whenever your account gets debited or credited, you get an SMS into your system. They had two different systems basically here, and it was important for them to ensure that both the systems have your latest phone number in place to be able for you to get an SMS. So there were API in place, but for whatever reason the API wasn't working, and so from this system P, we had to download an Excel file and upload it to X. The data was huge. When I say huge, it was probably 1,000 customers for only 3 days. Right now, it was divided among 5 people to do this task. Every 5 people were supposed to upload the data of 200 customers into the system X. They had to go search for account number, then update the phone number, and just save it, and so on. So while one of my colleague was doing it, she got an SMS after few days regarding the card was used in Norway, but she had not traveled to Norway, right? Immediately she realized that while updating these 200 customers data into this system, she had by mistake updated her own phone number. So that is when when RPA comes into picture. Whenever the task is really redundant, it's the same steps always. Probably it's a good to use RPA in such systems. So probably this and this is a good use case for RPA. But as long as this is working fine, we should not really include RPA at all. Okay. I hope that's clear.
Hi, Minal, Ashutosh here. Just only one question, like how do we calculate ROI? Like sometimes someone will asking how do we calculate ROI and all. So is there any specific way of calculation or how do we do?
Okay. Ashutosh, I think that's a very good question. Now, when it comes to calculating the ROI, now there are different RPA tools which have different practices to calculate ROI. When it comes to automation anywhere, they have their own Excel model, which they say can calculate a good ROI. For example, how they calculate ROI is obviously, let's suppose there is a process. For example, let's take an example of this process only. Okay, let's say they have this process in place and they want to really replace it with an RPA, a robot doing this. Then obviously you need to know how many number of people are currently working on it, right? Let's say X, or 10 people are doing this work. How many hours, number of hours, right? Let's say they do this work every day for 2 hours. Now, that would mean for 5 days a week. Now, that would mean how many hours are being used here? 10 into 2 into 5. Correct? This is the number of hours that are being used, which is probably, I think, 100 hours per week. Now, obviously, you need to feed in what is the amount of, what are the wages for these people for 100 hours. Let's suppose these people are charging at $20 per hour. So, in that case, probably it would mean that you are spending around $20,000 dollars per hour, right? To do this whole per week, $20,000 per week. Sorry, right? You are spending this much money for getting this task done, and then you can compare the costing of what is your uh, RPA costing. That would definitely vary depending upon different tools. Now, when it comes to automation anywhere, as I said, they have a proper Excel model to calculate. But again, the data which you feed into those calculator would depend upon you, whether you are able to manually calculate properly, whether these are 10 people, these are 2 hours. Most of the time in businesses these lines are very blurred. We do not really know exactly how many people are working on it. So as long as you are feeding the correct data, you will get correct results, but if you're not, then you will not. So I would say, while these kind of tools are good in a way, UiPath also has its own tool to calculate the ROI. But again, feeding the data into these tools would depend upon the person who's feeding the data, right? So I would say, along with these calculators, probably a business person who actually heads this department, who is doing this work, is the correct person to judge what is actually the ROI generated, and that has to be done through using different tools depending upon different products, and that's how you can get ROI. Okay, I hope
Okay.
that answers.
Yes, yes. And one more question, like in UiPath, is there any add-on or like how do we get this Excel for like calculation and all? Is there any inbuilt or like manually we are doing this? Especially
Uh,
in
Ashutosh, they're not doing it manually. What they do is, UiPath works on a partner model where they really promote their own partners who can sell UiPath for them, for their customers. So when it comes to partners, they do get a web portal wherein they have a portal wherein you can feed these kind of data, and these are just a very simple calculation I have told you, but they require you to post endless amount of questions, lot of questions around. Uh, 20-25 questions, or you have to fill in to get ROI. Of course, they try to understand each and everything, how many hours, how many people, what time, and so on, and that's how you get ROI. So that's what I said. While automation anywhere relies on Excel, UiPath has their own portal to generate ROI. Okay, and there are, as I see in business, there are some people who use Power BI, Tableau to actually understand, the profit or the ROI as well. So that differs from business to business. Yeah,
oh yeah, thanks a lot. Thank you so much.
no problem. Uh, Coming to the next question, what are the pros and cons of RPA against Selenium? I think that's a very common question again, that people really blur the lines when they're not able to understand the difference between Selenium and RPA. So Selenium is just a testing tool, and it can be used on mainly web applications. So if you see RPA, in fact, the calculator example that I gave, it is basically a desktop-based application. So RPA is something that can be used to automate any process, be it desktop or be it web. So when I say desktop, it could be any process. For example, even reading your mails, or um, Excel, or then it can be SAP, it can be Oracle, or for that matter, any tool. You can use RPA to automate it. And also, when I say RPA, it can cut across the tools. For example, let's suppose you have 5 applications, 3 of them are web, 2 of them are desktop based, right? In that case also, RPA can be used to automate different applications. So that is what is the difference between Selenium, whereas Selenium can be used only to automate tasks based on web. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. Okay, so coming to the next question, what are the compatible application like Java-based mainframe and mobile application? So I would say most of the application are compatible. For example, as I said, different desktop and web-based applications are compatible. But when it comes to a Flash or something, I would say if you want to take in an example of extreme, that would come to be remote desktop automation. Let's suppose you're working on remote desktop and then you want to automate, right? That becomes quite difficult. For that also, even that also can be automated, but I would not say it is 100% successful. It depends whether the automation is successful or not on a lot of things, on how exactly it is automated. But yes, all the application which are there installed on your PC can be easily automated. Then the next thing is mobile application. uh, Currently, I do not see any RPA tool being able to automate mobile application, but UiPath has come up very recently with a feature to automate mobile application. So they've just come up around 15 days back. It's in testing phase. It's not really given to the live customers. They have just come up, in their free version for people to test and give them feedback based upon which they will ultimately bring it to the customers as well, maybe in few months. But this is something which is an evolving field where they're trying to automate mobile application. As of now, no RPA tool is able to automate it fully, as far as I know. Okay. Okay, thanks. Coming to the next question, what is the average cost of UiPath automation anywhere and Blue Prism? Okay, so having said that, UiPath themselves doesn't really give a very clear picture about the cost. I can give you some generic costing for UiPath. When it comes to it's a very generic. Guys, don't claim it because that's not something UiPath. First of all, when you go to UiPath's website, they do not really openly tell their own prices. They would land you to a page of support wherein they would want you to submit a request where their sales representative will call you. Not sure why. I'm not really happy with that thing, but yes, that's how it is for UiPath. And similar for automation anywhere and Blue Prism as well. But having said that, all three softwares doesn't come very cheap. The approximate costing for setting up at least one bot would be approximately just a second, let me calculate. It's 20K for orchestrator, then studio another 8K, then 2K. So that comes out to be somewhere around 30 to 40 $1,000 for one bot. Okay, and this is an average costing for all these three software. But having said that, when you buy one bot, it always comes out to be costlier. Add to it 5 more bots, then the cost would considerably come down. So the cost for one bot may be this, but when it comes to the cost for 5 bots, that would be somewhere around $50,000 for 5 bots. Okay, so basically they work on the principle, the more you have, the more the cheaper it is, because the robot controlling tool is a centralized tool which can actually control 1 or 5 or 10 or even 20 bots, and the controlling tool itself, the central tool itself is generally costly, which is around 20,000 fixed, which you have to spend if you're buying any bot. But having said that, all these tools provide a freer version if you want to download and practice before you actually move to the paid version. Okay, so these are just approximate cost, but these are minimum. But yes, you can, if you are actually concerned about the costing, you can also look at other, and these costs are annual. All these costs are annual. Okay, whatever I mentioned. You can also look for other softwares. For example, Softomotive provides costing of around $1,200 per month for one bot, and sorry, not 1 month, per annual, on annual basis. So this is comparatively cheaper, and this has very good features as well, and they are very clear about their pricing, and they list down on their website as well. Okay, I hope you got it. Yeah, okay, so that's an interesting question as well. In a process map which has 10 steps and 4 steps require human intervention. However, the volume is very high. Is it a good practice for RPA? I would say yes, as long as the volume is really large. For example, let's say I gave you that example wherein you know this sorry this customer service department. Let's suppose the person has to go to 5 different websites, applications, to get actually data. Let's suppose the person has to fill in login credential because they don't want to give it to a bot. That can also be given, and most of the companies do give. But let's suppose the organization's policy is such that they do not want to delegate the task of filling in the credentials by the bot. So in that case, maybe the customer service department, once triggered the bot, then it has to fill in data of login credentials into this 4 or 5 different applications, and then the data will be fetched from all these applications, then presented to the customer service department, while the person can really focus on talking to the customer rather than only navigate between the different websites. So yes, the credential is a mandatory step, but still, rest of 6 steps may be done by bots, so it may still be a very good example um, if it is really high volume. So again, I would say the business judgment really comes into picture here. So that's about it. Yeah. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Any more questions? I'm more than happy to answer. And also, if I missed on any questions, please feel free to write it in the chat window again, just in case I missed scrolling through it. No problem. Thanks for asking this question, in fact. I think okay, so yeah, that's another important question. Where can I start learning RPA? Okay, so like Udemy. Okay, see, okay, coming to first of all, before you say you want to start learning into RPA, it's important to zero it down to one RPA tool, right? There are so many RPA tools in the market, so how to zero it down to one tool? Either if you have your organization already working on one tool, obviously that should be the tool that you should try to learn RPA that tool, right? But if your organization is not really working to get any RPA tool, maybe a good way could be that easier option would be, let's try to zero it down on the most famous tool in the market, and the tool which has the most demand in the market. So probably a good way would be to zero it down to UiPath, because it has the largest market share currently. Okay, having said that, how to start learning our UiPath? So if you search on Google itself, this UiPath Academy. UiPath Academy offers lot of free materials when it comes to UiPath. So they have their own UiPath Academy, on which there are a lot of webinars. In fact, there are training material ranging for basics from 20 hours to advanced courses of 40 hours altogether, and which is completely free of cost. So probably this would be a good place. You can search in UiPath Academy. There will be a basic course for UiPath basics for 20 hours, then advanced for 40 or maybe 42 hours, and that can be a good way to start with UiPath. So there are different kind of things. Obviously, you can find some courses on Udemy as well. You can just look for good ratings, and then decide if you would want to go with that particular course or not. But yes, that's a good practice. Also, guys, I'm a trainer as well. So why? So I think the next question could be, why would anybody want to go for a paid training rather than a free training when the company itself is providing training? And to be honest, it's a good training. It's not a bad training as well. But having said that, when we say these provide training, when you do a self-learning course, you end up multiplying it with 3, and this is probably you need to spend 20 hours watching the course and 60 hours probably doing all the examples by yourself to actually understand the core of it. Similarly, you do this to this. But when it comes to trainer led or a training which is a paid course, so probably your number of hours becomes significantly lesser to understand the same course. So it all depends what skill set you currently have, whether you're comfortable with self-paced training programs, and you have enough time to actually spend time on this kind of course, or you would want to go to a trainer to fast pace your turning. So that's about it. But I would say both are correct depending upon what your circumstances are. So yeah. Yeah. So coming to Ravi's question, how companies will measure customer satisfaction after switching to RPA? Are there KPIs involved? Yes, Ravi, there are KPIs involved. Customer satisfaction. See, I would say there are KPIs involved, but sometimes the customer satisfaction, you can just see it by itself. You don't even need KPI, but depending upon what your organization is. For example, for a very recent company that I worked on before this COVID-19 actually hit, it was a telecom company. So what they did was, um, they were a telecom provider. For example, you have these IP phones, and they would provide the telecom facilities. Now uh, they had postpaid customers. Okay, postpaid customers, but still sometimes their account will be hacked, and for whatever reasons they had put in a limit of $20 to $50 on their customer's account. But sometimes this balance would run low, and what they had done was they had set in a trigger when the balance was lower than 50, the email will be triggered. So in such a case, when the um, uh, in such a case, the person had to manually go and increment the balance of the customer to 250 again. Okay, so in such a case, the time was the key. The customer satisfaction and time was the key. So let's suppose this trigger came in the morning, and the customer end up using a lot of money by afternoon, but the person really updating this amount did not get time. So this customer can be annoyed at such a case, right? So this is a good practice, a good business case for RPA, because this straight away involves leading to customer satisfaction, right? So this is one way. Yes, KPI can be another factor when it comes to large organization, a lot of products. So there are different ways. You can use Power BI, you can use Tableau, and even UiPath has their own insights tool as well to measure KPI as well. So different tools. Automotive also has their own KPI and so on. Okay. So yeah, coming to this question, yes. Do you train people on UiPath? Yes, I'm a trainer. I've been training people on UiPath from past 1 year, more than 1 year, I suppose. And I've trained more than 2,000 plus professional, ranging from 0 to 25 years plus experience across the globe. I do deliver batches. Okay. Okay, how can we enroll with you? I think you can leave your email ID with Ravi, and we can share with you. I do not have any scheduled batch as of now, but as soon as we have a scheduled batch, we can let you know. Okay. Your email ID is already there, so probably we'll get back on that. So coming to this question, how secure are these bot applications when it comes to human intervention? Can we create this bot application password protected? I'm not sure I got your question. This part I got. Can we create this bot application password protected? Okay. So I think let me try to answer your first question. How secure are these bots? See, the bots are definitely very secure. For example, let's suppose you're running SAP on your system, you're running Oracle, you're running any ticketing tool, you're running any telecom platform, or so on. We run different softwares, isn't it? So they are secure. Now, when it comes to, I think you're trying to understand whether the bot really holds any data and keeps it with you and misuses the data. So most of the time, the servers are at your own premises. Whatever your bot stores data will be within your own premises. It could be your own server, or it could be any cloud based server if you're using Amazon Web Services or Azure, or for that matter any. But that is something that your own company has to decide. Some companies also offer their own cloud to store data, but again, that's totally up to you whether you want to take up their web space or not, or you want to actually install all these softwares on your own server. I hope that answers your question, though I'm not really sure whether the question was this. Okay, it answered. Okay, thanks. Any other question? Anything else you guys want to ask? I'm more than happy to answer. Okay, so thanks. Ravi, I think the questions are taken. Maybe you can take it from there.
Yeah, I was patiently listening to all the conversation, and I believe the participants must have received some value from this conversation. So I'm not seeing any further question coming up. So it's time to, for me to formally say thank you to Minal. So Minal, I'm really thankful to you that you took up time from your busy schedule and agreed to be a speaker to open up this business agility webinar series. And of course, the message is pretty straight and clear that every single component in an organization, right from strategy or anything that you need for its successful execution, everything matters. And with the fourth industrial revolution, where data science, machine learning, robotics, automation are becoming mainstream, this is where the execution efficiency has increased with the help of these technologies. So that was the intent why Minal was invited for this webinar. So again, thank you so much to you, Minal. And of course, thanks to everyone who took time to join this webinar and participate with the right questions. So with that note, we can say that this course is so this webinar is completed. So we are running few more webinars, precisely 5, which are coming up from tomorrow. So the next webinar is on DevOps, where we are talking about the positioning of DevOps and how it is enabling a faster value delivery. And Mr. Chaitanya Gajula, who is an expert DevOps consultant, would be addressing the audience. So I invite all of you to be a part of it. I can see a message from Renin and Mr. R. Prasha. So I will definitely come back to you regarding the schedule of the upcoming batches. And last but not the least, this session has been recorded, and hopefully towards the end of next week, the entire playlist of all the 6 webinars would be made available to the participants who registered for this webinar series, irrespective of whether they joined or not. So expect an email from me or my colleague in next week. So that is what we are gonna do. And you will also receive an invite of the next webinar, hopefully by tomorrow morning. So with that note, let me thanks to everyone, and we can formally close this webinar. And last point I forgot to mention, all the people who have joined this webinar, they will also receive a certificate of attendance. And please don't mind flaunting your certificate on social media. Do share and let people know that you are really caring for upliftment of your knowledge and understanding. So that's all from my side, saying bye for now, and hope you will be joining the next upcoming webinars. Thank you so much, and saying bye to all of you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ravi. It was a pleasure hosting the session with you. Thank you so much to all the audience for patiently listening. Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.